everybody, and welcome to the Everything is Fine, Nothing is Ruined podcast. I'm your host, Hassan. Today, we are here to talk to you about the best game on the PlayStation 5, which means that we're going to get serious and emotional as we explore our fatherly relationship while we slay a bunch of Norse gods. I'm, of course, joined by Tristan.
Hey, that's me. Yeah.
Tristan.
Yeah. What's up?
Let's get into it. The best game on the PS5. We're obviously here to talk about God of War.
Oh, no. I mean,
okay.
we could if you really want to, because
I see my confusion. Sorry.
Yeah. No. Okay.
We're gonna get serious.
Okay.
And look inward as we explore a fatherly relationship.
Yeah.
With Ghost of Tsushima.
Does that have fatherly relationships?
Yes.
I'm not too okay.
Yeah,
well,
no,
I'm not aware
much.
of that. I also never played it. Well, okay, good to know, but it's not that today. No, sorry.
Oh, okay.
No.
Got it. Sorry. We're gonna get emotional.
Yeah.
And look inward.
Sure.
As we explore our father-uncle relationship, what I call a funkle, not to be confused with a grunkle, as we talk about Spider-Man 2.
No, that may be some other date, but not today. No.
We're gonna get serious, and emotional,
sure,
as we explore a fatherly relationship with The Last of Us 2 remastered.
Swing and a miss. Still, like, man, you got further away from that.
I don't know that there are any other fatherly relationship games on the PlayStation. So
that's not what we need to talk about today.
But all the best games are clearly about,
the dads,
male characters dealing with their fatherly relationships.
Not all of them. Some of them are about just
name
being
one
good
good
buds.
PlayStation game not about that.
Astrobot. Arguably the best PS5 game.
I'm pretty sure that's about fatherly relationships. Yeah.
Anyway.
We're not talking about PS5. We're clearly talking about PS3 with Metal Gear Solid 4. Another game about fatherly relationships. I see.
No. What? Once again, not about
the
fatherly
game's
relationships.
about Metal Gear Solid Delta, which is the remake of Metal Gear Solid 3, a game about fatherly relationships.
Not quite. Also, not about fatherly relationships at all.
Yeah, it's like motherly relationships.
Like buds. Well, that one is, yeah. But we're talking about a game about like good buddies, friends.
You're telling me it's a PlayStation game that's good and it's not about fatherly relationships.
I am saying exactly that. Yes.
That is hard to believe. All right, let's hear about this so-called game.
Son, have you ever played the Ratchet and Clank games?
Are they about a fatherly relationship ever?
Some of them kind of maybe sort of are, but it's really about like finding your place in the universe. And
yes,
really
I only play PlayStation games about fatherly relationships.
Oh. Well, you're going to have a hard time with today's topic, which is Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart.
Tristan, I've actually played, I played the first, Going Commando, Up Your Arsenal,
great games, yes.
Deadlocked.
Ooh, yeah.
I played one of the PS3 ones. I don't remember which. I think it was a Crack in Time.
Oh, Crack in Time's okay, yeah. That one's all right.
I think that it was either Crack in Time or Tools of Destruction. Looking at the cover art, I can't tell which it was.
They all kind of blend together at some point. So like
they put out a lot on the PS3, so
Yeah, that's true. It's like 4 of those things.
4 main ones, but then they also
they had spares.
Had stuff like Secret Agent Clank, Size Matters.
Yeah. And then also all the Ratchet and Clank's like crossover material, plus anything that was on the PSP. So or the Vita, I should say. The Vita is what we had the point. Oh, there was a PSP, and then there was the Vita that rolled over
Yes.
into like the PS4 era as well.
Don't forget the PSP Go.
I forgot about the PSP Go.
Oh, I can't believe you.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, how many games is
All
that?
right, well,
That's a lot. Fuck yeah.
Yes, there has been a lot, but we're talking about the most recent one, Rift Apart, which is a play on Ripped Apart.
Yes, we were discussing the 17th Ratchet and Clank game. Wow. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Yes, it is a play on Ripped Apart. That's true. There's usually some. It's always some sort of something like mildly crass. Subtitle they have for the games.
Because like
Going commando, up your arsenal.
But then I'm looking at Into the Nexus. I don't.
That's fair. A crack in time.
Fair. Like normally they all are, but
Quest for Booty.
When they did Into the Nexus, and then there was the like, I don't know what you would call it, like a reboot or what, but there was just Ratchet and Clank on the PS4. I kind of assumed they would stop doing it, so it was a little bit weird when this one had the like, oh, we're back to the poop humor. You know?
Yeah. To be fair, Rift Apart is so it's close to being its own thing. They can kind of like be like, it's not that though. But
I didn't even pick it up until I heard somebody else say it. And I went,
Ripped Apart.
Yeah.
Ripped Apart.
Okay, yeah.
Going commando up your arsenal. Deadlocked is whatever. Going mobile, whatever. Size matters. Tools of destruction. Quest for Booty. Full frontal assault. And then Rift Apart. Yeah, Ratchet Clank Rift Apart is what we're discussing today. This game kicks some ass, I gotta say, and I need to also state that I've since playing this game, I've also played Spider-Man 2, also made by Insomniac, which uses sort of some of that same tech they used in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, and it makes open world games much nicer.
I can see that. Yeah.
There's what they did, because like the PS5 comes out swinging, and then I gotta point out, I play this on the PC. The PS5 comes out swinging with like SSD technology, like gone are load times. What are even our load times anymore?
I mean, comes in, hot with that tech from 2012.
Technically 2012 is when it began.
Like when I have my first PC with an SSD.
I'm pretty sure like SSDs like really got good though in like 2017. So yeah, something like that.
Even in 2012, they were pretty decent. But,
I'm sure.
Yeah. When it comes to like NVMEs, you're talking a little bit closer to like 2017, 2018. I think sounds right.
True enough. Yeah, but either way, the cool thing with this game is that they really utilize the hardware of what you got. So in the PS5, of course, like the SSD, they have like a decent, like a really good graphics card, et cetera, et cetera. But if you have it, if you're playing this game on a PC, you can really amp up what they do to a point where like load times, what even are load times in this game? They don't fucking exist. And what they have done technologically and like coding wise to optimize this game into making sure it uses every single ounce of power it can out of your SSD drive is pretty cool. Like the dimension hopping between like scenes and that kind of stuff is really awesome. That in previous generations might take them some time to load into that sort of stuff. But what they've done here to be like, okay, if you want to just like jump to the next planet, you can do that. It's got like a very short like opening scenario just to kind of set things up. That takes you 10 seconds, and now you're in. Just go. Who cares? And I'm like, it's mind-blowing how good that technology is. And like I said, later on when they do Spider-Man 2, they definitely took that tech and amped up the usage of it to make sure that like when you fast travel in Spider-Man 2, you just teleport right there. It doesn't matter. Just midair, start swinging. Who cares? You're already in Midtown and you were in Brooklyn, that kind of thing. But in Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, there's no open world, so when they drop you into an area, I like how they have kind of sequestered things off and let you kind of like in certain spots once you unlock the multiple areas to drop yourself into, how they will have you, they'll allow you to basically drop in where you need to for the most part. For certain levels, they don't do that though, which is a little frustrating, but still. That's besides the point. The technology side of things is really good, but the main thing is this game. I haven't played a Ratchet and Clank game since a cracking time. So since 2009. Gotta say, they did not change a lick of what Ratchet and Clank is all about, like in the slightest. And this one's
Which
like
is refreshing in a lot of ways.
yeah, and like that's the thing that this they maintain this exact same style of game since 2002. So 20 plus years. Actually, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart comes out in 2021, so 19 years of Ratchet and Clank games. They have had the exact same thing going for them for that long. And the fact of the matter is, you can pick up any Ratchet and Clank game in that sense and just go and have a good time. And this felt like I picked up like Going Commando or Up Your Arsenal or Crack in Time and just kept going. And just like it feels good to play. They've never had an issue with like how the game runs or how the game plays. It's just always been the exact same thing since the fucking first game. It's been the same thing, and I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I gotta make sure everybody understands that I think that's cool because they've maintained that formula, and a lot of studios would be like hard pressed to try new stuff, but Insomniac goes, well, what we'll do for trying new stuff is just give you cool new weapons or like new fun areas to explore, new puzzles, new characters. People are going to come back to Ratchet and Clank to have that same experience they've had in the past because they like that. And it's just like, that's kind of the Mario effect, because if I'm going to play a Mario game, it's because I like the way those games play. No matter what new stuff they do, as long as you have like the core values of what a Mario game is, I'm in. And Rift Apart definitely has that aspect too, with like, you know, eventually you get things like the hover shoes, or like the other like unlockable gadgets you get, not just the weapons, but like it's the hover shoes, and there's also there's of course you can get your helicopter heads, that kind of stuff, your hover packs, etc. All that stuff, and it's just like this feels like a good extension of what a Ratchet and Clank game should be. So yeah, as I'm playing this game, there's just a lot of just pure childlike wonder that that gets me from this game, and I don't have that a lot in video games anymore because I'm a 38-year-old man. I'm cynical as fuck about video games. I'm bitter. I am resentful towards a lot of like the AAA atmosphere that video games produce. So when I sit down and I play something that people, it's A, formulaic, but like B, that formula is something that team like believes in. It feels good to play these games. And the way they've implemented the technology of the dimension hopping, I think really works super well with the story and what's happening in the game and the gameplay. So like, yeah, I Rift Apart is a marvel to me at this point, and it shouldn't have been, but like when I played this in like January, it was January, yes. There's just something about that game that like I just absolutely loved. It's also something that made me realize something that like it's not maybe I already knew this, but I'm getting kind of sick of games, even big open world ones, or like longer running games. They're like way too long. Like, if your game is above like 60 hours, I kind of don't want to play it anymore.
It's one of those. It's going to depend on the game, right? Like,
it depends, yeah.
Like Baldur's Gate 3 is one where everybody is like, look, if that game was 200 hours, I would have been happy,
Yeah.
I think what this game, to some of the points you said earlier, some of the things that make it very interesting to play now are that it's a game that doesn't necessarily ignore a lot of the I'll call them habits that modern games have adapted and used. But it's a game that chooses not to implement those because they wouldn't necessarily be right for it. So I'm thinking about things like, the walk and talk of, a character is going to have a conversation. And personally, I always hated the walk and talk. I would literally rather a game take control away from me.
Just give me a cutscene.
And just give me a cutscene, give me a load screen. Like, if I've never enjoyed the aspect of a video game where it is giving me control technically, but meaningless control of like, I can walk, I can move the camera, but I can't actually engage with the game in any way. It's like,
exactly.
no, you're like, you are forcing me to do this. Or, so many games now have the like colored loot system, right? And this says no, we're not, we're not going to do that. We already had
buy a cool gun, upgrade it.
Yeah, and hey, you're going to upgrade it by just using it a bunch, which, other games have adopted that, right? Like Skyrim is kind of the biggest example of that, of, hey, the more you use a certain spell or skill or whatever, the more you improve it.
Yeah.
And I think it was very interesting playing this and having a game that it wasn't, I wouldn't necessarily say it's purposefully being a throwback, because it's what these games have always been, but that as a result, it did feel like, this ends up being a throwback because it's so rare to have a game that works like this and doesn't say, this thing like a walk and talk or a tiered loot system or whatever. This is just how games are now.
Yeah. The cool thing with this game, speaking of the walk and talk, it's like, what I like is when, if I'm just doing stuff in the random world or whatever, and like someone comes on like the comm system and is talking to me that way, but I still get full control, that's totally fine. I don't mind that. That's awesome. But like the walk and talk, man, I'm so past the walk and talk now. I think everybody at this point is, because like if you're you need to walk like 20 feet over here, and then like the door is blocked, they want to go through, but you're on the phone with whoever, and you gotta like finish the conversation. Like, just let me go. Just let me go.
It's
or freeze you in place, either way.
And I don't know if you're playing to get into the story part of it, but like the walk and talk exists in a lot of games because it's I don't necessarily want to say it's a failing of the writing, because I'm sure it sort of is. I'll give a little bit of leeway because I'm sure it's incredibly difficult to, hey, we have this idea of a story, and then, well, to implement this section and have this be a fight would be incredibly difficult. So we're not going to be able to do this fight, but you still have to get this information and part of the story conveyed to a person. So guess what? Here's a walk and talk as a result, because we don't have a choice. But, you know, in a lot of ways, Ratchet and Clank can get away with it because it is just this lighter, breezier, to a certain extent, you know, more cartoony story that it makes it a lot easier for it to just go, hey, kind of gameplay is gameplay, cutscene story or cutscene stories. Occasionally, you'll have a character on the radio talking to you, helping to tell you stuff, but that's going to be pretty minor stuff. So if you miss it, no big deal.
Exactly.
Which was nice, right? To have this lighter, breezier story. And it does seem like things are kind of swinging back that way. And we are kind of, I wouldn't say like completely moving away from the sort of, you know, like, prestige drama style of storytelling. But when everything is that, it's not surprising that people are leaning back the other way. And I think it's why you see things like this and like Astrobot get talked about so glowingly. Is because it's people going, this is different now. Hey, this thing that in the PS2 era, it used to be like all the games.
This is a dime a dozen.
Oh, no. This super, like, Metal Gear is cool because it's super serious and, you know, it matters and has weight. And now when everything is supposed to matter and have weight, these lighter, breezier games are now like, this is refreshing.
Like, do you recall, like, back in the PS2 era, we had Ratchet and Clank, you had Jack and Daxter, and Sly Cooper. Those are the three main, like, action platforming games that were out there. Yes, but there were so many more than just that. Everything was an action platformer.
Ty the Tasmanian Tiger, Arrow the Acrobat.
Yep, exactly.
Jersey Devil.
Yeah, even like the more serious games like MDK were, well, I mean, I'm going to call them air quotes MDK being serious. But like stuff like that was more,
Prince of Persia. Your, like Psychonauts, obviously that came out. Yeah. Or there's a game I was trying to think of, but I can't remember what it's called now. It was a more serious action platformer, military guy, who you were also a psychic, but like it was not Psychonauts. A platformer? You're a military guy who's psychic.
Yeah, it's more of a third person.
My head, I'm like, I know what you're talking about. I was about to say Geist, but that's not it. You were talking about The Mind Conspiracy.
Yes, I am.
That's the subtitle. It was.
What was it called?
I'm gonna find it. Psyops. The Mind Conspiracy.
Yeah, there you go. That game was pretty good, and like,
it was good.
But that was also just a dime a dozen because there were so many of these on the PS2, and that honestly just is the console for some reason. That's just the entirety of what you get out of that system, and then you kept that up a little bit with like the PS3 until they found that, you know, Uncharted was the thing, and now we have guided platformers like Uncharted, and then you also have like, you know, The Last of Us and more third-person shooters and character action games. The variety kind of stretched out, and then the PS4. Then we start getting stuff that's just like, okay, the walk and talk is here to stay, and colored loot boxes are here to stay, and everything's Souls-likes, live service games, all this really exhausting stuff, these aspects that get placed upon video games, especially in the AAA space, that we just are inundated with, to a point where, like, when we get the presser about, like, this game is this amazing action platformer with loot boxes and Souls-like mechanics, and it's like, come on, you can't do this, please. Just something fresh. And now fresh means Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. That's what that means. That we need to look at this franchise that has 17 games, been around 20 years, 20 plus years. And we go, that is fresh now. And that's insane. Like 17 games later, and this is still the most refreshing thing we can play. And there was a time where you would balk at another Ratchet and Clank game, still play it because it's still a Ratchet and Clank game, but go like, another one of these? Really? Okay, fine. Hopefully they do something different, and they never do. They never do anything all that crazy or different. They focus mostly on making just a fun experience. With like level design, story design, that kind of stuff. The writing is usually pretty good in Ratchet and Clank games. It all feels extremely much like a Saturday morning breakfast cereal sci-fi show. And I think that because they go for that vibe, I think they nail it each time because it's so cartoony and fun and interesting. And they do that by giving those like the variety in the weapons and like the way the platforms work and the platforming works and the puzzles and the ideas behind the game. Like, oh, here's a section where you're going to use the mag boots. You're going to like shoot some pirates from upside down on this like magnetic strip, or like now we use the rifts in this one. Like, oh, you have crystals you can like bash around, and those will create the rifts for you. But you have to go through a different rift to get back to the other crystal and like move shit around. It's cool. Like the puzzles are not hard, but they help service the atmosphere and the vibe and the story that they're trying to tell. And that's where Ratchet and Clank, I think, now is sort of living and breathing. And the thing is, because these games are just so like, on top of that, just a 20-hour game at most. Honestly, my first playthrough, I got through in 18 hours and then put 2 more hours in on a replay just to see how far I could get. And like, yeah, you could. It's a good pick up and play game. You get through it in a few sittings, no big deal. Enjoy yourself. That's what this game is. It's refreshing because it's a low commitment, extra fun game.
Yeah, there aren't a million collectibles in it. Like it definitely has. There's crystals and the
crystals,
the gold. Screws, I think they are
the gold nuts, yeah. Or well, they're bolts. They're bolts.
Bolts, yes, the gold bolts. Like it has those, but they're not. It's not an open world map where we're gonna have think about Assassin's Creed. People talk about the bloat in that game, right? Yeah. Hey, we're gonna have you need to go collect all these books and you need to find all these birds, and then you also need to go take out all these enemies and that. Like this really is not that. It's hey, just play the story. Just keep moving forward. Play the story. Occasionally, you'll come back to a previous area, but by and large, just keep moving forward.
That really is what it is. And like, speaking of the story, I think this has a pretty good one, even if it has a bit of a cliche, hokey one. And like,
I'd agree with that.
Yeah, like I'll point out again that Ratchet and Clank lives in those cliches and hokiness and really dumb sci-fi that I think that like, nope, it's not profound. You're never going to find a life-changing experience in Ratchet and Clank. I don't think anyway. You might, I guess balance may vary, but you might. But I would say personally, the stories they tell in these Ratchet and Clank games, and especially Ratchet Part, aren't like the greatest, but they're still good. They're still good stories. Now, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, the main thing here is that, of course, this is all about dimension hopping and that sort of stuff. So you're at a parade, it's celebrating Ratchet and Clank, and it has as heroes and how cool they are and how many awesome things they've done, and they defeated Dr. Nefarious, etc., etc., etc. And Dr. Nefarious attacks after and he steals the Dimensionator that Clank had made for Ratchet to try and find his like more Lombaxes in the universe and all that stuff. And it's great. It's going well. Steals it, breaks the Dimensionator, and then they all get kind of like shunted into a different universe, kind of a mirror world, sort of, where Dr. Nefarious defeated. Well, I guess took over the world. Didn't really defeat anybody specifically, but took over the world, became Emperor Nefarious, and is voiced by a different person, etc., etc. And it's to a point where you have a different Lombax named Rivet, and she is basically Girl Ratchet. And then you get
not my Girl Ratchet though. Let me show you the art that I have of Girl Ratchet.
I want to see your art about Girl Ratchet. You can keep that on your side if you want to.
I'll email it to you. Don't worry.
Email? Why email it?
Because it's
more permanent that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fair enough.
I don't want Discord compression on the quality of the image. You know.
Fair. I can understand that. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Cool. Yes. All right. Cool. Yes. Great. But, yeah. So, excuse me. Basically, yeah. Rivet is basically Girl Ratchet, but, like, she's missing an arm, but this one she's, like, a robot arm, and there's a whole thing about that. And then you eventually meet Kit, who is Girl Clank. What I like about this, though, is that, like, so, when they bring them together, because they originally separate Ratchet and Clank into different planets. It's like Clank meets up with Rivet right away, and Ratchet is on his own for a while until he meets up with Kit. But the fun thing for me, and I don't know why I love this, it's because Ratchet is gold and Clank is silver. And when they meet up with their alter egos, Clank is silver, Rivet is silver. Ratchet is gold, Kit is gold. And you know by the end of the game, Rivet and Kit are going to become a team. It's just like because they're inverse colors. They have to. It's the poetry of it. You have to go with the complementing, contrasting color. And just like, yeah. It's going to happen. Oh, it's going to be so good. And
it's that thing of, it's not trying to be, you know...
Yeah.
For lack of a better term, but it's not trying to be very cerebral in its...
It's not, and that's beautiful.
In its symbolism, right? It's making it, you know, very obvious and very clear. Because look, it's a game called Rift Apart, play on Rift Apart. It wants to be fun. It wants you to join in with it.
Yeah.
So it's not trying to have it so that, you know, 18 hours into the game, it's going to finally, like, you know, reveal some crazy twist, and that's where you're like, oh, I should have noticed because of the two colors, and oh my god, of course these two would end up pairing up thing. Like, oh, it was staring me right in my face, but I didn't pick up on it because they were being all subtle about it. It's like, no, this is going to be super obvious. Yeah. Like,
it's super obvious. Like, to the point where they do, like, the will they, won't they with Rivet and Kit, because, like, oh, it turns out, spoiler alert for this game, I guess, Kit is the reason why Rivet's arm got cut off, like, blasted off, basically, because, like, Rivet was on a mission, Kit used to be a Emperor Nefarious killbot, and then blasted off her arm, and then felt bad about that and other things, and then, like, left and to go to Savali and become, like, the foremost, like, lore keeper on the planet. And it's just like, okay, that's good stuff. But then, like, when they meet up, like, oh, hey, it's cool. Yeah, Kit and Rivet, they're good buds. And then Kit transforms into her like big old like killbot form, and Rivet's like, oh my god, you're the one that like shot me. Like, fuck this. Like, I'm not gonna have like, oh man, but will they or won't they become best friends? And the answer is, obviously, yeah, they're going to become best friends. I will admit, with the way this is being written, There was one point where it was kind of like they might actually subvert the trope here. They didn't, but like there's that. They did a good job of keeping me guessing, even though I knew the answer is yes. They will become best buds, but they kept me guessing just enough, or it's just like, okay, there's one point where they kind of reconcile, and then they have a fight, and it's just like, ooh, that's actually a pretty good finale fight kind of thing. Like they like an argument, not a fight. And then Rivet and Kit go off on their own, and like Rivet's like, I don't need Kit, whatever. I did this whole like rebellion thing for forever without a robot companion. Why start now? It's just like, yeah, okay, I guess I can kind of see your point, but like, you know, the colors match though. You got the gold and the silver. They come together and it's a whole. It's gonna happen. Yeah,
don't worry. I've got some art that'll prove to you it happens. I'll email it to you.
Oh, okay, great. I'm glad that art exists. Yay! Fandom stuff. I know it exists. Come on. I mean, that begs the question. Like, you know, okay. So these are the counterparts in this world. Now, I will point out there are more direct counterparts where they're not gender bent counterparts in this world. Where like
yeah,
Quantum is also here, but it's a whole different guy. And it's just like
no, you
Captain
mean
Quark.
Captain Quark,
who is Captain Quantum?
Yes. In that universe.
That's what I meant. Yes, Captain Quark.
Except Captain Quantum is actually seemingly competent.
Yes, that's the actual like kick in the pants there. Yeah, it's like they do a thing where they keep the characters the same, but more competent or less competent as they are in the world. But with Ratchet and Clank, it's like now it's Rivet and Kit, but now they're girls as opposed to guys. And I mean, the fan fiction writes itself. I can't blame anybody for wanting to, you know, make very specific art and fan fiction about that situation. But is it not the same person? That's what I'm getting at.
So I don't know if you ever saw when they like. I think it was when they first revealed that game. Yeah. I don't remember exactly if it was the first or like a further reveal. But when they initially did it, you saw Rivet and they didn't name it, and so all the fans were like, oh, that's going to be Ratchet, like Ratchet, but instead ETTE.
Yeah.
And boy, am I glad they didn't do that.
Me too.
That would just be so bad.
That would have been horrible. Yes, I agree. Yeah. Now, I have to point out, despite all this, I had the chance to, in the game, actually read up on the whole Lombax situation, because there's a whole thing when you get to Savali. The main thing you do there when you find Kit is that Ratchet discovers that, like, the Lombaxes were these like extreme lore keepers kind of thing, like space wizards in a way, but not like big magic wizards, but maybe they were. It's a whole weird thing. Yeah, like there's no magic here, but they had this like ancient alien like system and world and city and this kind of stuff. And it's only really touched on in this game. Like, they don't go into it, like, at all.
Yeah, for a series that's been going on for 17 games, the Lombaxes have always been rather poorly defined and lacking in consistency.
Yep.
It's always sort of been this, oh, the Lombaxes, they're this legendary group for reasons.
Exactly, yes.
And that's why they're not around anymore. Like, okay, fine. And
yeah, exactly.
And that's fair. It's not like these games need to be deep on the lore and
really
hyper consistent. But it is funny to me playing this game, and it was still just like, really? We're still kind of doing the like, ooh, what's up with the Lombaxes? It's like Ratchet's kind of met a lot of them at this point.
Yeah,
like 6 or 7 of them across these games.
I mean, that's the case, yes. But we're still doing this. To be fair, though, these are the Lombaxes in Rivet's universe. Maybe they're just totally different depending on the universe. I mean, there's kind of a 1-to-1 a little bit in this world, in this game, where it's like, you know, Ratchet and Rivet are pretty close as far as like personality and persona, that kind of stuff, and so maybe it is 1-to-1 as far as like the Lombaxes also in Ratchet's universe are ancient alien, like super crazy space wizards kind of thing. But I mean, maybe they aren't. Who knows? But yeah, they this is the thing. They do this stuff with the Lombaxes, and I don't really care that much. If you want to tell me the story about the Lombaxes, don't put it in a podcast I have to actually listen to in game. And B,
email it to him as your fanfic.
Sure, do that instead. I won't read it. But yeah, basically, just don't do that. Like, seriously, don't do that. It just sucks when I got to like sit and I got to stop what I'm doing and like listen to the lore of the Lombaxes and go like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, I'm sure it's interesting. I didn't listen to a lick of it because I just don't care. Show, don't tell. And they do kind of show, because you do go into like the depths of Savali and you do see some of that stuff, and it's like, okay, they were an ancient alien race that they colonized planets and all this stuff. So, okay, that's there. But like the actual depth of the lore is told to you in these locations where to like go around Savali and do little puzzles to unlock that lore. And man, do I wish Savali was less broken than it is. Not sure if you can carry some of the
I kind of
bugs.
like it though.
Yeah,
I just,
I agree.
you know, like
I wish
it's or I shouldn't say I do like it, but I think I appreciate it is probably the better way to put it, which is that you know, in the current AAA model where everything has to be so polished and you know, those rough edges, or not even rough edges, but the like the best way I can think to describe it is that video games are a lot like sleight of hand magic, where it's basically, you know, hey, we need you to look over here at this hand while this thing happens, because if you look over here at the other hand, you're going to break the game and clip through the world, kind of thing. Yeah. And, you know, modern AAA games are just so kind of polished that they, like, you can't even see this hand if you try. I kind of appreciate that Savali isn't that, because you're spending so much time boosting around doing stuff that just clipping through stuff or getting weird encounters happens. Man. It's like, this is a good reminder that games are,
it's a game
held together on a wish and a prayer.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just the case. And I agree with you. It's annoying, but I do appreciate it, because like, except for the fact that there is one bug in Savali specifically that involving a pool of water, and and also the big stompy like library thing, like that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So there's one pool of water where if you encounter this in the wrong direction, the game will hard lock you into thinking that you are in water for a while, and you have to kind of find your way back onto like serviceable land. It'll force you to be kind of like just jittering all across the screen because it thinks you're trying to get out of water. And that is annoying as hell. But again, a good reminder that this is a video game, and that the artistry of making a video game is goddamn hard. Like silver lining there, like which silver lining / copium, I guess, in this case, because yeah, that is what it is. And the same thing goes with that, like the library. And honestly, Savali is probably the most broken area in the game, and that is saying something because there are the rest of the game I've never had a problem with. Like, I think there was one other thing where it was kind of my own fault in that instance, though, so it was just like, okay, whatever. I just jumped against the wall and it got stuck somehow. Wasn't a big deal.
Happens. Yeah.
Happens, yeah. Yeah, just stuff like that. It's like, okay, whatever. But, like, Savali is just like, yeah, there are, like, 2 major areas that are kind of messed up, and just you get to encounter them in a very specific way. And if you do that, no problem. But if you get the bugs to happen, again, it's just a good reminder of what it takes to make a game. Yeah, copium. But the rest of the game is like I said, very well done, very polished. With the exception, I think, of what was the other planet called? The one where you fight the Tinkerer. Well, you don't really fight the Tinkerer, but you unlock the Tinkerer and then kind of fight him. Like the giant robot.
The like worm one?
No, not the worm. It's like a big humanoid robot.
Oh yeah. Okay, yes, I remember that now. Yes.
Yeah.
I thought I don't know. I think my favorite planet was basically the one that I can only describe as Wisconsin. Oh yeah, Ribbit, welcome back home. Good to see you there.
Yeah, with the Morts. The Morts are pretty good.
Yes, the Morts. That's it. Yeah, it's just like, this is just Wisconsin.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
Fresh, you better feed her some grub. Yeah, oh yeah, get over there, eh? Yeah, it's been pretty good. Oh, Mort's just like that. Yeah, that was Sargasso.
Sargasso, that's it. Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yes. Yeah, the one I was referring to was I think it was Torn 4. Yeah, Torn 4. Which is this big old scrapyard. I really enjoyed where's it? What was it? Is Coruscant 5? No. Where is it? Blizzard Prime. There we go. Yeah.
Which one's that?
That's the one where you do the most dimension hopping between like the lava world and the like outer space area. Yeah. I think the whole thing with Blizzard Prime, where like in Ratchet's universe, gone, doesn't exist, was blown up. But Blizzard Mines in Rivet's world, totally there, awesome place. Or it's not in Ratchet's world that they encounter that. It's just a different universe in general. But yeah, like the dimensionality there, because you're hopping between all this stuff and you're trying to like solve puzzles by like sending a platform over beneath a rift so you can get to that rift and all these things. And like the drill fight is a lot of fun. And the weird little robot dudes you encounter are pretty cool too. Blizzard, I also encountered another bug that broke the game, but it was fine. I just reloaded the area. It's I think it's a really cool area, and like this game has a lot of like really interesting and fun like level design and platforms. I really enjoy Zerkies, like the little like hub world you get to. There's especially once you get like the hover boot skate shoes kind of thing. There's just something a bit like just jumping across the entirety of Zerkies to get back to your ship or vice versa. I think is just really good.
I'll say I wish there were more arena fights there. It
Yes. Yeah, the arena
for
fights
a
are
game
whatever.
that has, you know, I won't say the tightest combat ever.
No.
But it's still pretty fun going through fights, having to swap your weapons and like using your arsenal to its fullest.
Yep.
I think there's only like 12 arena fights. Now, there are multiple rounds per fight, but it's like, oh, I wish there was more of these. Especially because, like, some of these weapons, I'm only getting to use in one or two of these fights because, like, I don't get them until the end game. It would have been nice to have more opportunity to have these in these arenas.
Yeah, it's really too bad because, like, those arena fights, especially because, like, the very last arena fight, if you just need to, like, just basically get a crazy amount of crystals, you can just do that arena fight just ad nauseum. That's what I did. Because, like, I want to upgrade all my weapons. I'll just do this arena fight until I just get everything, and then I'm good. It's probably one of the reasons why it took me 18 hours to beat the game as opposed to probably, like, 15. Really? Because, yeah, you can just sit there and do that fight like crazy and just let your, like, get your ammo back and that kind of stuff and just go into it and just level up your guns. And I think that needs to not be the case. I wish there's a better way. Or at least, like, you know, have an arena fight where it's like, hey, here's now a randomized arena or something.
That's why we're saying the next game needs to be Ratchet and Clank Deadlock 2.
No.
No. Nobody wants another Deadlock.
No, I was trying to remember what Deadlock, like how Deadlock played.
Deadlock was the one where they basically went, oh, what if we just made it an arena kind of fighter thing? Or not like, not an arena fighter like a Smash Bros, but literally,
arena fights.
Hey, all you're doing is just these fights.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that one was not very okay. I get it, and like that kind of works, but no, we do want more into the game. Like the story is part of the fun of Ratchet and Clank as well. Like the combat and then the gameplay is good. It's tight and it is what it is, but it's never been like the highest draw for me. There's always more of like an atmosphere and more of a, like, you know, the worlds are what draw me to Ratchet and Clank more than anything. Like, firing cool guns and, like, using cool weapons is another thing, of course, but, like, it all kind of meshes together into one beautiful, like, symphony, as opposed to, what if it was just the cool guns that are on display? And it's like, yeah, that is one thing, but it's more than just that. And that's why I think Rift Apart, like, really does a good job of, like, nailing what it needs to nail. Speaking of the guns, I think that a lot of these weapons are, like, these are repeats, because, like, at this point they've done pretty much everything they could with these guns.
I don't. I wouldn't call them repeats, as more of a repeats, they have certain sort of concepts of weapons, and each, like, they always have their transformation weapon where, oh, you kind of hit an enemy with it, or you, like, you do something and it's going to create some sort of an animal that's going to attack the enemy. Or they've always had like, hey, you throw out this thing and it creates a bunch of little minions for you. Or, hey, here's the reflector weapon where you put it up, it's a shield, absorbs a bunch of damage, and then you shoot that damage back at the enemy. Like, they've always kind of had that of, like, hey, here's our new spin on this weapon archetype.
Exactly. And I think that's fine. Like, it's like,
the one thing I'll say I felt was missing, no alt fire on the weapons. I wish it had that. That would have added some good variety to the combat.
Yeah, they had alt fire in Up Your Arsenal, didn't they?
I think all of the first three had Alt Fire. It's hard to remember because I
Yeah.
haven't touched those games in easily over a decade.
Seriously.
I probably last played them sometime around
What?
2009, 2010. But definitely, yeah, Up Your Arsenal definitely had Alt Fire, but I think all of the first three had Alt Fire on the weapons. And so it did, like, that made some of those weapons feel like a little bit dull to use. The more, hey, this just fires off, bullets, or like the buzzsaw weapons, where it's like, oh, those used to have like different options around you. You can charge up and fire a single big one. I think would have been nice to still have that.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with that. I'm just trying to find out if they had Alt Fire in like the first game.
I don't remember. We should probably start looking to wrap it up. But so I guess I had to look it up because so there was a leak around a year ago of essentially Insomniac's roadmap.
Yep.
Hard to say like how much they're actually going to hit targets and adhere to stuff because the roadmap was originally 2023 would be Spider-Man 2.
Yep.
2025 was going to be a Venom game. By all accounts, it seems like that was canceled because there was footage out of the leak, or I think it was even maybe a separate thing of more of this like 4-player kind of Spider-Man game, and that had Venom, and that I believe was confirmed as canceled. We know they have Wolverine.
Yeah,
that's definitely being worked on. That's pegged 2026 on this roadmap. Again, who knows? Stuff could be a little bit earlier, a little bit later. And then Spider-Man 3 is supposed to be 2028. Who knows? And then 2029 is when they had a next Ratchet and Clank game. So that is still 4 years from now.
Yeah, but
who knows? Maybe it's earlier. Maybe it's later.
8 years later, though. Ooh, oh boy. Ooh boy.
Yeah, and so I don't want to say, hey, I think it should have been out at a quicker cadence because if Rift Apart had clearly been heading towards some sort of story conclusion, for lack of a better term, right? Hey, this game was clearly setting up that, no, the next one is going to be the final game where we finally address the Lombax situation. Or, hey, that's going to be the game where finally Dr. Nefarious is stopped for good, kind of thing. I would have said,
Ratchet
8 years.
kills
That's yes.
Oh,
exactly.
God.
That's what I want out of Ratchet and Clank.
Takes
dark, gritty.
Takes the Omni Wrench, just twists his head off.
Yes, exactly.
And then Clank's
I would have said 8 years too long. Needs to be quicker.
Yeah,
I think for those games where, look, the next one, it's going to be another weird cartoony thing.
Yeah.
The plot of it, sure, there's some of the characters and moments from past games that matter, but by and large, it doesn't. I think it's fine to have that gap.
Yep.
But I do think Rift Apart felt refreshing. I don't know that just another Rift Apart would. I do think, ironically, even though we were praising it, whatever they do next does need to do something to justify more Ratchet and Clank games.
I think so too, a little bit. Yeah, like I sort of agree with you, and I sort of disagree because I think that leaving those as they are is totally fine. But I think you are correct in that, there's 17 of these things. They've been around for 20 years. They'll make another one in 2029, whenever it is. It'll be released then. And it's just like, I think the length of time between games, between 2021 and 2029, so 8 years, I think that's too long a bit of time to wait on the next Ratchet and Clank game. But simultaneously, makes the most sense because there are 17 of these things, and they want to stop flooding the market with them. So fair enough. That said, out of all of Insomniac's properties right now, the Spider-Man games included, I will take another Ratchet and Clank game over the next Spider-Man project, I think. In general. I still want to see what that Wolverine thing is going to be like, but it'll be its own topic cast, its own episode of the show. But I have a lot of misgivings about Spider-Man 2.
Well, this could be a whole other topic, right? But I think Sony in particular, there definitely seems to be a feeling of fatigue with a lot of its series.
Which is saying something because Astrobot came out and
what I mean is
point,
its big pillar ones. So God of War Ragnarok, Spider-Man 2. What was the Horizon Forbidden West? Was the second
Forbidden West? Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yes.
Even to a certain extent, it felt like Last of Us 2. Like all these games, felt like people went, "Those are really good games. I really liked it."
Mm-hmm.
I don't know about a third. And it's that problem of these are big prestige things. They're supposed to be these big, heavy, emotional moments. And it's kind of the problem of like Sony is kind of making them more like big prestige movies when what it really wants is more of a kind of Game of Thrones thing where you can just have a season after season.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of just hesitancy and fatigue out of people that like, well, I just don't know that I need a third of these characters in this specific story. Like, hey, yeah, the gameplay is good in these, but like, if it's still just more of these characters and more of these stories, it's like, I've already had my fill of that part off the first two.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I can understand that, and I kind of agree with that because, like, there's a lot. They need to reassess what they're doing with their games, and also it's maybe high time to produce new IP. And I'm talking about everybody. Like, sequels are nice. It's great to see another Halo. It's great to see another God of War. Like when that new God of War in like 2016 came out, and same with Doom, stuff like that. When those games came out and it was like, we're making another one and it's kind of gonna be like a cool modern redo. We have some new shit to say about this game, in this series. It's like, all right, that's awesome. And now it's like, now there's a sequels to those games, and I'm like, I don't care as much.
Well, good news, Tristan, because Sony has you covered with Fair Games, where the S is a $, their extraction shooter.
Oh, no. They're also making an extraction shooter?
Oh, yeah.
But wasn't that with what was the other one that this bombed super hard last year? The Guardians of the Galaxy, but crappy.
Overwatch wannabe one.
Yeah, exactly. What was that called? I should know it because it was so bad. It left a lasting impression because it was so bad looking.
Yeah, it lasted like 3 weeks or whatever.
Yeah. Friggin'. It's over the C, Cordelia, something like that.
Nah, I'm looking it up.
Yeah, looking it up, yeah. Yeah, like stuff. It's just, you don't need any more extraction shooters or hero shooters. Like, these. Stop with the live service games.
Concord,
thank you. Yeah, like having a live service game, one or two of them, that's fine. I understand it. Like, especially because if you have a team that wants to make that kind of game, they will make a good one of those games, I'm sure. I mean, look at like Apex Legends. That team is like, hey, we really wanted to make a cool extraction / hero shooter. Here it is. We've done what we can with this, and it's like, all right, that game is pretty awesome. They use the same mechanics as in Titanfall, minus the Titans. Awesome. Where's the next Titanfall game, guys?
Never gonna happen.
Never gonna happen because they're making all the money off that. But I mean, like, it's probably time to make new IP that are not extraction shooters. Concord could have been a third-person shooter just with its own storyline and didn't have to be a hero shooter thingy. Like,
So I don't know if that'd be good, but
No, but it would have been.
At least you'd still be able to play it.
It's true. Yes, you would be able to download that and play it and enjoy it because you owned it, as opposed to live service game that went offline and now it's dead and gone forever. Like, the only thing that's left of Concord are YouTube videos about Concord.
And that controller they put out, because that was kind of a nice paint job.
Oh, that's true. That was, yeah. Good controller. I agree. Yeah. But yeah. More stuff like Ratchet and Clank ripped apart, I guess. That's what we're trying to say. Less Concord, more Ratchet and Clank. Please and thank you. Also, maybe let God of War dangle for a little bit more. I don't know.
And the rumors are the next game is him fighting the Egyptian gods, and that just, it's like, oh.
I guess, okay. I guess, okay, to be fair, the Greek gods are the most well-known ones in any pantheon, because, it is what it is. They are.
Hey, it was neat seeing him fighting a different pantheon the one time.
Yes, exactly.
I don't,
twice.
Hey, here's Kratos global tour. Sort of just like, I don't know, man.
Here's the thing, though.
I don't know.
Here's the thing. We already did this, and it was called DMC, Devil May Cry, back when Ninja Theory did that game. And that's essentially what if, like, the gods were things like capitalism, but they were demons instead of gods.
That
I'm just saying, we've already done
would
this.
be a way more interesting take of just, Kratos has to kill capitalism. Kratos has to kill gluttony.
George Washington.
Yes.
Yeah. Now we're talking. What a weird game that would be. Kratos has to go and kill the symbolism of every major power in the modern world. I honestly, a Devil May Cry, but God of War set in a modern day, with Kratos still being Kratos, I think would be kind of interesting.
Yeah, no, that'd be way better.
Yeah. It's like when they did the Castlevania game, set in the modern day, but like not one of like the 2D ones. It was the one where you play as Dracula from
Lords of Shadow
2. Yes. Yeah, modern day. You're playing as Dracula in the modern times, and bad game, great concept.
Sure.
Yeah. Anyway, we should wrap this up.
Sure. Well, why don't you tell people where to find us?
Yeah, I will. You could go to our Blue Sky account, which is at eifnirpodcast, and you can tell us about how much you enjoy Ratchet and Clank, or how much you enjoy Concord. One of those two.
Don't tell us about Concord. I'm not interested.
I want to hear about how much you love Concord, because at that point you are a unicorn, my friend. You are a unicorn. I don't know if you exist, to be honest. If you do, tell me. You should also go to our Spotify, iTunes pages. Leave reviews, rate us stars, preferably 5, or if you could do like 10 or 20, go for that. Go to YouTube and watch the video. Share the video with your friends. Like and subscribe. Maybe the thing happened where the like and subscribe buttons light up if we say it on YouTube. It's great. Yay. But yeah, do those things and like, click buttons until like I go away.
Oh no.
Yeah, I know. Also go to friendsofdjdane.com. That's does our music, djdane.com. Go there, listen to his great tunes. And if you wouldn't mind just finding the girl version of him and just so like they could like meet and become buds.
Okay, yeah. Oh.
But not in like a weird fan fiction-y way. Just like, it's
When I'm back out.
like a wholesome, like weird good friends way.
Sounds boring.
Oh. Alright, well, fair enough. Anyway, that's it for our show. Tune in next time for another ensorcelled episode of Everything is Finally Ruined. See ya.
See ya.
Say it.